Hey guys, tonight we step into a winter where the stars sting your skin, where each breath feels like inhaling silver needles, and even the pine trees creak in fear. You trudge through a forest weighed down with snow so thick and silent, it feels like the world's been muted. Every step crunches like bones under frost. You follow no trail, only the occasional flicker of movement behind frozen branches and the gnawing suspicion that something is watching you. Up ahead, something glints in the dying light. Not fire, not gold. Ice, but carved with precision, like hands once touched it, with reverence or regret. You've wandered into the edge of a realm few humans remember, the kind of place where your GPS dies, your phone freezes solid, and even your emergency granola bar turns into a shiv. You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It means more than you know. Oh, and if you're tuning in from somewhere, cold drop your location and local time in the comments. Let's see who else is snowed in tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You continue forward, the sky leaking blue behind a lattice of bare branches. It's not just cold here. It's the kind of cold that humbles the soul. Somewhere, the sun is setting behind mountains you'll never climb, and the air smells faintly of smoked pine sap and something older, a sharp metallic tang that doesn't belong. The forest groans, and you half expect a tree to rise up on legs and ask for your name. But instead, a single snowflake lands on your glove, swirling lazily, before melting, though you swear you saw a rune etched inside it. Up ahead, a clearing. This is where the snow deepens unnaturally. It piles high like white dunes, but the air is still. There's no wind here, no animal sounds, just you, your breath, and the unmistakable feeling that this place remembers things. You're walking over history, and it doesn't like to be stepped on. You hear it then. Not words, just the soft rhythm of a breath that isn't yours. Low, steady, measured. Something's asleep nearby. In the heart of the clearing stands a broken stone arch, swallowed by ice. Beneath it lies a throne, not one of velvet and gold, but frost-rimed wood, tall as a mast with carvings that look suspiciously like wolves fighting stars. Resting on that throne is a woman. She wears no crown. Her skin is the color of moonlight on iron. Her eyes are closed, lashes frosted, and she's wrapped in furs that seem to grow from the very earth beneath her. One hand rests on the hilt of a blade shaped like a glacier's edge. The other cradles a carved horn of silence. This is Skadi, goddess of winter, the one the myths only whisper about when it's safe and sunny. She was once a giantess daughter of Thiassi, and traded vengeance for marriage to the god Njord. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well. They tried to live together. He wanted sea spray and gulls. She needed frost and mountain winds. The compromise, divorce. But Scotty didn't fade. She retreated to places like this, mountains choked in mist forests that only exist in dreams and minds that still fear the dark. Some say she built palaces from ice that never melted. Others claim she walks the slopes, still bow in hand, hunting those who trespass too deeply into the cold. You'd like to leave, but her eyes snap open, pale blue, sharp as broken crystal. She doesn't move, yet you feel inspected like a rabbit beneath a hawk's gaze. And then a sound, a long, low howl that doesn't echo, it clings. It slides along your spine, coils in your lungs. The queen doesn't flinch. She closes her eyes again and exhales like she's been waiting for this, for him. Because where she walks, the wolf follows. And not just any wolf. Fenrir, the beast prophesied to devour Odin, who once shattered the chains of the gods, only to be bound again by a thread of dreams and dwarven lies. The creature too big for the world, the one you can't run from. Historians still argue whether Fenrir was truly monstrous or simply a reflection of divine betrayal. Some even suggest he was never a creature at all, but a metaphor for the chaotic forces the gods couldn't control. Makes you wonder what else the sagas got wrong. Snow falls heavier now. You crouch, low your breath, misting into spirals. Behind you, paw prints, deep, huge, unhurried. Each print sizzles slightly as if even frost fears what walks beside it. You don't run. Something tells you that would be a terrible idea. Instead, you move with the snow quiet, slow, almost reverent. Skadi watches. The wolf approaches, and the forest holds its breath. You keep still, barely breathing, as the great shape steps into view. The wolf is fast, not just big in a hope you brought back up way, but ancient, wrong, primordial. His fur is not black, but the absence of light. Shadows slip off him like oil. His breath steams in the cold, curling into ghostly wolves of its own, dissipating before they can howl. Fenrir. He stands taller than a war horse, longer than a pine trunk, and his eyes burn not red, but a color that hurts to describe. Orange copper, molten memory. Whatever it is, they see you. But the Winter Queen raises her hand, and the wolf pauses. There's an understanding between them, a thread you can't see, woven not from words but old grief. This isn't their first meeting, maybe not even their 100th. Whatever this is, it's old as the frost on Skadi's eyelashes. She rises. The throne creaks beneath her weight, more out of respect than strain. And when she speaks, it's the sound of snow sliding off a rooftop. You've come, she says, not to you, to the wolf. Are you hungry? His ears twitch. It's a strange greeting. But then again, this is Norse mythology, where marriages begin with kidnappings and meals often involve riddles about your fate. You can practically hear the old skalds cackling. Skadi turns her gaze toward you now. You walk where gods are not welcome, she murmurs. That's brave. or foolish. Both you whisper, which earns the faintest curve of her lip, could be a smile or gas escaping from the past. She gestures for you to follow. Behind her throne lies a frozen corridor, not carved by hands but wind. Ice forms natural columns here, glistening with trapped air bubbles like ancient tears. You step cautiously, boots crunching on crystal. The wolf pads beside you, silent as regret. Do you know why winter lasts so long now? Scotty asks, not waiting for your answer. Because when the gods betrayed my father, I brought their warmth down with me, bit by bit, storm by storm. A historical aside, in surviving myths, Skadi was indeed the daughter of the giant Thiassi, killed by the gods. In recompense, she was allowed to choose a husband, but tricked into picking Njord by the look of his feet. She chose vengeance wrapped in civility, and the snow never really stopped falling afterward. Some scholars argue that Skadi represents the North's refusal to be tamed by southern gods. Her myth possibly rooted in older Sami or Scandinavian nature spirits. Others insist she's just a personification of alpine danger. Either way, you get the sense she's not one for small talk. The corridor opens into a hollow dome of ice. Inside scenes swirl within the walls like memories trapped under glass. You see the sun vanish behind storms. A hall of gods feasting while mortals freeze. Skadi's shadow, standing at the gates of Asgard flanked by wolves. And beside her, always him, the beast. I found him when he was young, she says softly. Chained, starving, lied to. You glance at the wolf. His breath fogs up the ice. Within it flickers of fire still burn. Why did you help him? Skadi kneels, her fingers brushing the floor. Frost forms where she touches. Because gods fear what they create. But monsters, they remember. It's a line worthy of a saga. Fenrir yawns. It's a terrible sound, like a tomb creaking open or an oath breaking in slow motion. His fangs are streaked with something that doesn't melt. You sit. It seems the right thing to do. Around you, the dome hums faintly like a lullaby sung by a glacier. The air is so cold it crackles. Your thoughts slow. Even your fear begins to drift, settling like ash. And then, from the ice, a flicker. A younger Skadi, hair braided in silver thread, approaches a cave. Inside it, chained to a cliff, is Fenrir, smaller, but still terrifying. His limbs strain against bonds woven from the roots of lies, the breath of a fish, the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, impossible things crafted by dwarves who loved riddles more than fairness. Did you know Skadi says beside you that his bindings weren't chains? They were humiliation. You nod, unsure if she can even hear your thoughts. I didn't free him, she says. Not right away. I spoke to him, listened, and in his stories, I heard echoes of my own. Pain, you ask. Abandonment, she corrects. Another historical whisper. Some Norse texts refer to Fenrir's treatment as justified, others hint that it was an overreaction to prophecy. Historians still argue whether he truly deserved the fear he inspired or whether he was punished preemptively, the victim of the gods' paranoia. The vision in the wall shifts. You see Fenrir biting Tyr's hand off, bloody, yes, but also tragic. A moment of trust shattered. Tyr had fed him, trained him, befriended him, and still offered him up. You wonder if that betrayal stung more than the binding itself. Skadi touches the wall. The image blurs into a blizzard. He asked me to help him find freedom, she says. In return, he'd help me hunt. You frown. Hunt what? Her eyes flash. Answers. The dome cracks slightly above you, and tiny snowflakes begin to drift down, not from the sky, but from memory. They melt on your skin like ancient tears. You lie back, spine against frozen ground, and exhale. This is not the forest you entered. This is deeper. This is where winter sleeps. You don't dream in this place, not exactly. Instead, images flutter across your mind like frost lacing a window. You see Fenrir and Skadi again, this time walking side by side through a jagged valley of black ice and fallen pine. Her cloak billows behind her like storm clouds. The wolf stays close, his tail swishing through the drifts, leaving no trail. You follow them. It's night now, or at least darker than before. The stars above are brittle things like someone scattered powdered glass across a velvet sheet. The moon is missing or hiding. You pass a carcass, frozen solid, stiff in the snow. A reindeer, limbs outstretched, mouth frozen mid-scream. Around it, no footprints, just a circle of melted snow. Skadi pauses beside it, eyes narrowing. He was too hungry, she mutters. You can't tell if she means Fenrir or something else entirely. The wolf says nothing, but his ears lower. They keep walking. So do you. There's a weight in the air, something not just cold, but watchful. And not from the gods. No golden halls or shining swords here. This is older magic. The kind of magic that smells like wet stone that creeps behind your ears when you're alone in the woods, and suddenly, no, you're not. You emerge onto a cliff, below a valley choked with snow and silence. In the center, a tree, not Yggdrasil, but maybe a cousin. Its branches are heavy with icicles and bones. Something dangles from the highest limb rope. No sinew. Skadi points. That's where he saw it. You turn. Saw what? The truth. The wolf snarls softly. Not at you. At memory. You inch closer to the edge and feel the wind push against your chest like it's testing whether you're ready to fall. He stood there, Skadi says, gesturing to the exact spot you're now occupying, when the hunger got too loud, when even I couldn't silence it. You imagine the wolf larger than any nightmare poised at this cliff's lip, staring down at that tree, at the shadows writhing below it. Maybe he thought the gods would be there laughing. Maybe he hoped they would come for him. They didn't. A little known tidbit here in some lesser known Icelandic fragments. There are references to Fenrir howling not at the gods, but into the void calling something else. Something no Skald dared name. Did he jump, you ask? Scotty shakes her head. No. He waited. Then he walked away. You stare. Why? She tilts her head, frowning like you've just asked why snow falls. Because death would have been mercy, and he wasn't ready for that. The wolf pads forward his breath, a steady rhythm. You watch him press his nose to the ground, then suddenly freeze. His hackles rise. Scotty draws her blade. The air tightens. Like the forest itself has inhaled and refuses to exhale. From the valley, something stirs. It's not a god. That much is obvious. It's something sloppier, hungrier, a mistake that never got erased. You can't see it yet, but the snow's retreating. And the tree, it's weeping sap that steams on contact with the air. Scotty steps back from the edge. We should move. You agree. As you retreat, you glance over your shoulder. The thing below hasn't moved, but its presence presses against your rib cage, like it's already inside you, like it's always been. The next few miles pass in tense silence. The forest closes in again, trees packed tightly together like soldiers braced for a storm. Scotty walks ahead, barely disturbing the snow. Fenrir follows his breath, steady, his ears twitching at every snapping branch. You stumble once. She catches your arm. Her fingers are colder than death, but her grip is steady. You manage a question. Why does he follow you? She answers without looking. Because I never called him monster. It hits you harder than expected. You think back to all the stories, the whispered campfire tales, the polished versions in textbooks. Fenrir, the destroyer, the killer, the god-eater. But in her presence he's quiet, watchful, wounded, and maybe that's the point. Historians still argue. You murmur aloud whether Fenrir was evil or just doomed. Scotty smirks. They would. You break through another clearing. This one is different. The snow here has been flattened in strange patterns, swirl symbols like someone danced with giants and didn't care who was watching. In the center is a ring of stones steaming faintly, a fire pit, but the flames are blue. Scotty crouches beside it and gestures for you to sit. Fenrir settles down too, curling around the outer ring like a guardian or a trap. You sit, and for the first time, you feel warmth. She feeds the flame something from a pouch, powdered roots maybe, or crushed bones. The sparks flicker in your direction, forming shapes that feel oddly personal. A toy you lost in childhood. A face you've almost forgotten. The crackle of the fire mimics voices from long ago. "This is where we made the pact," she says softly. You nod. "What did you promise him?" Scotty leans forward, eyes gleaming in the blue glow. "A name." She looks at you. "He never had one, you know. Fenrir is what they called him. It means fen dweller, beast of the marsh." But that wasn't his name. You feel a chill. What was it? She exhales slowly. "He never told me, but he said I could name him when he was free." The fire crackles again, but now it sounds like chains snapping. Freedom, that old myth. You lie back against a warm stone and close your eyes. The wolf watches. Scotty hums, and in the heart of the blue flame, something ancient begins to stir. The next morning isn't really morning at all. The sky never shifts, just stays in that strange slate gray in-between, like the world forgot how to count time. You wake to find snowflakes swirling lazily above, but none land on your skin, as if the storm knows you're part of the story now. Scotty is already standing, her blade strapped across her back again. Fenrir stretches his massive frame, moving like a shadow, learning to breathe. They don't say anything, just start walking. You scramble to your feet and follow. There's no path, no destination, just a pull. A direction that feels more like instinct than geography. The forest grows thinner as you travel, and the wind picks up. Not howling, but murmuring, whispering names you don't know, maybe don't want to. Eventually, you reach a slope, not steep, but long and aching, the kind of hill that breaks hearts more than ankles. At the top stands a gate not made of wood or stone, but woven branches glazed with frost. It forms a perfect circle, like the sun caught mid-blink. Scotty touches it. Nothing happens. She frowns. It's changed. You glance at Fenrir. He snorts and pads forward. The moment his paw touches the snow inside the circle, the gate splits open. No creak, no sound at all. Just opens, like it was never shut in the first place. What lies beyond is worse than expected. The snow ends. The air warms not pleasantly, but like the stale breath of a cave that hasn't opened in centuries. Moss clings to everything. Stones sweat. Trees lean inward, trunks twisted like they're whispering to each other. You step inside, and you feel it instantly. This is no ordinary forest. You're inside a pocket of memory, a place carved from forgotten things. The air is heavier here, thick with the scent of damp bark and old blood. Not fresh, just remembered. Scotty kneels beside a fallen log, fingers brushing over a patch of bark. It flakes away, revealing a carved rune. This is where he first broke free. From the gods. She nods. From their story. In Norse mythology, most retellings focus on Fenrir's fate, how he's destined to devour Odin at Ragnarok, how he must be chained, how the gods tricked him. But rarely do they talk about what came after those chains first snapped. There are obscure mentions hidden in sagas that weren't widely copied of Fenrir roaming places like this. Shadows in the margins. Some scholars even believe this forest, or something like it, was his sanctuary, a mythological liminal space between prophecy and freedom. Historians still argue whether it was a literal location or symbolic, but Scotty walks it like she remembers every root. They move deeper. You begin to see them. Marks, etchings in the trees, claw gouges maybe, or runes bent out of shape. You lean closer to one and swear the wood shifts under your gaze. The rune rearranges, matching something from your dreams or nightmares. What is this place, you murmur? Scotty doesn't answer, but the wolf growls low, and from the shadows, a figure, tall, wrapped in fur and silence. No face, just a mask made from bark and bone. It doesn't speak, but tilts its head, studying you. Then another appears. Then another. You're surrounded. They don't move, don't breathe, just watch. You inch closer to Scotty. Friends of yours, she draws her blade slowly. Remnants of what? Those who tried to bind him. The bark mask things don't react. But you feel it, that simmering, slow tension like a bowstring pulled just before the arrow flies. Fenrir snarls. It's like a thunderclap. The figures vanish just like that. Scotty doesn't lower her blade. They linger here. Their punishment is memory. The wolf brushes against your side, not violently, more like reassurance. You realize now why it stays so close, why she never lets him stray too far. They aren't just allies. They're keeping each other from falling apart. You come to a clearing. In its center lies a stone slab half buried in moss. On it, a symbol carved deep into the rock, circular, jagged, unbalanced. A spiral that pulls itself inside out. You kneel beside it. What is this? Scotty whispers. The promise. She doesn't need to explain. You feel it. This is where they made their pact. Not in fire, not in blood, but here in the mud, the moss, the memory. She pressed her hand into the stone. So did he. And something older than fate listened. Scotty kneels again, placing her palm flat against the stone center. A faint glow pulses beneath her fingers, cold, pale blue. Then Fenrir steps forward and does the same. The symbol flares. A ripple of wind tears through the clearing, and for a second, the forest goes utterly still. Scotty looks at you. You asked what we hunt. You nod. We hunt the hand behind the chain, the voice behind the story. You blink. The gods. She shakes her head. the ones who wrote the gods. The thought clings to your ribs like frostbite. You try to speak, but something inside you shudders. The idea that this world, the gods, the sagas, the prophecies, is just a veil. And beneath it, something else. Something that authored fate. Scotty rises. The pact is old, but the thread still pulls. The wolf turns. He doesn't growl, doesn't howl, just walks toward the next shadow. You follow, and the forest sighs, shut behind you. The trail ahead narrows until it isn't really a trail anymore, just a thread of compacted snow winding through boulders draped in moss like forgotten cloaks. You're higher now, though you don't remember climbing. The air has thinned crisp like frozen parchment, and every breath you take fogs the silence. Fenrir walks slightly ahead, his shoulders rippling with quiet tension. Scotty moves behind him, bow in hand this time, not drawn but not resting either. You get the feeling she's not expecting a fight. She's remembering one you spotted before they do. A tree massive and cracked, cleaved nearly in two as if lightning had struck it in a moment of divine fury. But this tree bleeds not sap, not water, something black. Thick as ink, it oozes into the snow where it steams. Fenrir stops. Scotty narrows her eyes. What happened here? You whisper. She steps forward, blade unsheathed, now tracing the wound in the bark with her fingertips. This is where we lost the thread. She doesn't elaborate, not yet, but you feel it. This place is heavy with the past. Historians rarely agree on Scotty's role beyond the myths. We know some argue she was once far more central, a deity of judgment and wilderness, later overshadowed by flashier gods like Thor and Odin. Others suggest she was borrowed from older pre-Aesir beliefs, rooted in shamanic rites, a goddess of thresholds. But here she is something else. Not goddess, not outcast, witness. She turns back to you. This is where the gods tried to bargain. With you, with him. You blink, but they already chained him. Scotty shakes her head. They chained his body, not his rage. The memory uncoils in your mind like mist across stone. The gods watching Fenrir's growing unrest, his size, his power. Even bound, he frightened them. So they offered him something, a chance to speak, to shape his own ending. But it wasn't real. They came here, she murmurs, offered him a false freedom, a place in their stories, a seat at the table if he'd play their monster. You look at the tree again. The wound in it is jagged, deliberate. He refused. Scotty's voice sharpens. He bit through the illusion, and when he did, they punished him again. Fenrir growls low and slow, not in anger, in memory. Scotty kneels by the black-stained snow. They say the gods are just, but they fear what they can't name. You remember her earlier words, that he had no name, that Fenrir was a label not an identity. Did he ever tell you who he really was? She doesn't answer, not directly. Instead, she stands eyes clouded. I've walked with him since that day, not because I pity him, but because I see what they won't. He's not chaos. He's the echo of their choices. A joke rises in your throat unbidden just to cut the tension. So you're saying he's a really big therapy session with legs. She actually chuckles. A dangerous one. You continue on. The trees begin to thin until they vanish, entirely replaced by jagged stone spires jutting from the snow like broken teeth. The ground here is rough, uneven, slick, with a crust of ice that crunches beneath your boots. At the center of this icy plain stands a pedestal. No decoration, no inscriptions, just a flat surface dusted with wind-blown frost. Skadi approaches first. Fenrir circles it once, then sits. This is the question she says, staring down. You blink. The what? She gestures to the stone. They brought him here, told him to place his paw upon it, said if he could speak truth, they'd release him. What truth? She meets your gaze, that he would never harm them. Ah, the catch. If Fenrir promised peace, they'd free him. If not, eternal chains. He refused. They already called him Monster, Skadi mutters. What did it matter? What he said. You reach out and touch the stone. It's warm. Unsettlingly so, almost as if something inside it still listens. Historians still argue whether this tale was ever part of the original mythos. The story of Fenrir's trial doesn't appear in mainstream Eddas, but fragments from 11th century skaldic poems allude to a false promise and a judgment of stone. Some say it was added later to humanize the beast, to give his fury shape. Others believe it was deliberately erased. The wind howls now. For the first time, Fenrir raises his head and howls back. Not rage, not hunger, grief. And somewhere distantly, something howls in return. You all freeze. Even Skadi's expression falters. What was that, you ask? Fenrir turns ears trained. Skadi draws her bow. Something that shouldn't answer. From the peaks to the west, a storm begins to rise. You watch as clouds roll in fast, unnatural boiling with light that pulses in sickly yellows and greens. It's not a thunderstorm. It's a summoning. Skadi turns to you. We're being called. By what? She draws an arrow. By the ones who do the writing. You glance at Fenrir. His lips peel back into a silent snarl. Then he runs, not away, but toward the storm. Skadi sprints after him, cloak snapping behind her like a war banner. You don't hesitate. You run too, and behind you, the pedestal crumbles. The wind slices sideways now like it's trying to erase you from the landscape. Snow doesn't fall, it launches, hurled by invisible hands. You squint through the blur and run faster, lungs burning, eyes watering, legs aching. Ahead of you, Fenrir is little more than a streak of darkness against the white, and Skadi, a blur of firs and frostlight. You crest a ridge and stop dead. Below you lies a crater, not a natural one, but a vast circular wound in the earth. Trees once stood here, mountains once watched over it. Now it's all gone, flattened. At the center stands a single figure cloaked in golden mist, unmoving, untouched by the storm. Skadi arrives beside you. Her face hardens. That's him. Who? The scribe? The word doesn't sound divine. It sounds surgical. Fenrir growls deep and ragged. Below, the golden figure raises one hand, and the storm stills. The snow settles instantly. Not one flake dares fall. You feel pressure behind your eyes like a story trying to rewrite itself from inside your skull. The scribe speaks, and though his lips never move, the words claw their way into your thoughts. He was meant to end. Why bring him back? Skadi answers, her voice quiet but resolute. Because endings are earned, not assigned. Fenrir steps forward. You follow instinctively, though every part of your body is telling you not to move. The ground crunches beneath your boots. The air grows thick, like walking through wet parchment soaked in ink. You reach the crater's rim. The scribe doesn't look like a man or a god. He's all outlines, just the idea of a figure. You get the sense he's not made of skin or bone, but of rules, chapters, edits. He points at Fenrir. He was written for war, fed with prophecy. We gave him purpose. Skadi shakes her head. You gave him fear. You finally find your voice. You wrote him as a monster, then chained him for becoming one. The scribe flickers his form, breaking into calligraphy mid-sentence before pulling itself back together. The wind rises, biting again. The world needs endings, even if they howl. Fenrir roars. It's not just sound, it's resistance, memory, fire. The echo shakes the ground. The crater pulses beneath your feet like a heart trying to restart. And something breaks. The golden glow around the scribe cracks. Lines split down his form like shattered glass, revealing shadows beneath. Skadi raises her blade. Now, she says softly, you see him too. You take a step back. What is he? She glances at you, the editor. The word tastes bitter, cold. He rewrites. What doesn't serve the arc she adds. But we are the arc now, and then it begins. Skadi moves first, a streak of ice and fury. Fenrir follows his paws, burning as they touch the rim of the crater. You want to help, to scream, to do something, but the moment you try to step forward, your feet sink into ink. The ground turns soft, yielding like wet pages. You're being pulled down. You fight it, and you see now this isn't a battle of blades. It's battle of stories. The scribe lashes out not with fists, but with edits. You watch as reality distorts around Fenrir. For a moment, he's a tiny pup, then a raging demon, then nothing at all. The scribe is rewriting him mid-movement, trying to delete his presence one identity at a time. But Skadi anchors him. She slams her blade into the ice and roars a name not Fenrir, not beast, not wolf. A new name. You can't hear it. You're not allowed. But he does, and it holds. Fenrir snarls. The edits slide off him like snow off iron, and he charges. He leaps. The scribe splits apart pages, fluttering lines, spilling ink, shrieking. A blast of wind throws you to the ground. When the light dims, the crater is empty. Skadi kneels at the center, breath steaming. Fenrir lies beside her, panting but whole. And the scribe, gone. You approach slowly. The storm's vanished. Only silence remains deep, waiting. Skadi looks up, eyes tired but bright. He has his name now. You glance at the wolf. He meets your gaze. There's no hatred in it, no rage, just peace. Did he win, you ask? Skadi shakes her head. He survived. She stands. That's more than they ever gave him permission for. Around you, the snow begins to fall again, but gently this time. Each flake lands soft, forgiving. The crater begins to fade. Ice forms over it, erasing the wound slowly. Fenrir rises and howls, not in fury, in freedom. It echoes across peaks, across realms, through time. A sound that doesn't ask for permission. A voice that finally gets to be its own. Historians still argue whether Skadi ever rebelled, whether she truly left the gods behind, whether she changed the story. But you've walked beside her. You've seen her choose truth over silence. And the wolf, he walks beside her still. You start to follow, but Skadi lifts a hand. Not yet, she says. Where are you going? She looks to the horizon, now clear of storm. To find the next name they buried. You nod. The forest behind you waits, and the story lingers. You turn from the fading crater, your boots crunching over snow that now feels oddly light, like the earth beneath it has finally exhaled. Behind you, Fenrir and Skadi vanish into the mist. Not dramatically. No glowing portals, no triumphant fanfare, just gone. As if their chapter has ended, but not their journey. You start back alone, and even that feels right somehow. The trees greet you like old friends now, their skeletal arms no longer threatening, but welcoming. The air no longer bites. It brushes, gentle, curious. The path that was once obscured now unfurls ahead, as if it had always waited for you to understand where it truly led. You pass the gate again, the one of woven branches. This time it bows open before you, not torn, not shattered, just respectfully parted. Snow begins to fall in earnest, now soft and steady. Each flake lands with purpose, covering your footprints just after you make them, as though the forest is tucking you in behind yourself. Eventually, you find yourself standing at the stone dome once more, the place where Scotty showed you the frozen memories. The throne is empty now, and the dome itself cracked. Not broken, but fractured, like ice thawing after a long, bitter winter. You kneel beside the throne brush, away a patch of frost, and there it is, just beneath the surface, a rune. Not one you recognize, but you know what it means. A name. His name. It doesn't need to be spoken aloud. It exists now. That's enough. He is no longer just a monster in someone else's epic. He has become myth on his own terms. And so has she. You look up, and in the curve of the dome's roof, you see a reflection. Not just of you, but of every version of you that might have walked this story. The skeptic, the dreamer, the forgotten, the curious. All of them watching from behind your eyes, whispering thanks. It was never just about a wolf. It was about stories. Who writes them? Who gets to finish them? You rise and begin to walk again, slower now, more present. You start to notice things you hadn't before, moss on the undersides of branches, bird song, like flutes echoing from deep in the woods. The glint of ice crystals forming perfect spirals on your sleeve. You pause by a half-frozen stream. The water flows beneath the ice like a secret still being told. You kneel and touch it. It's cold, yes, but not punishing. Refreshing. You take a sip and it tastes like pine, like mountain air, like stories left untold. Above in the branches, something stirs. A crow. It caws once, then twice. You raise an eyebrow. No, not you again. It watches, tilts its head, and flies. You smile. In Norse myth, crows often herald gods, omens, endings. But this one, just a bird now. No prophecy, no doom, just wings and wind. The way out reveals itself, not a path, but a sense. A warmth behind your sternum guiding your steps. The forest bends with you, no longer testing, simply witnessing. As you move, the sky slowly brightens, not with sunlight exactly, but with a kind of silver luminescence, like dawn forgot how to be gold and settled for peace instead. You cross a ridge and see the valley where it all began, the clearing where Scotty first opened her eyes, where the wolf first breathed your name. You've circled the tail, but you're not in the same place anymore. Neither are they. The snow picks up, but it doesn't obscure your vision. It softens it, as if someone is drawing the curtain closed. You turn, look over your shoulder. No one there, and yet you feel them, always just ahead, always just out of reach, not waiting to be remembered, but walking forward, rewriting the frost-bound edges of fate. You step through the last drift of snow, and with that, you leave the myth. So now, just let it go. Let the wind hush around your ears, the forest fall away behind your breath. You've wandered through snow, through silence, through story, and you made it back. Not unchanged, just softer around the edges. Let your shoulders sink into whatever holds you now, a pillow, a mattress, a place called enough. No more howling winds, no editors rewriting you mid-step. Just quiet, just calm. Imagine the snow falling again, not in storms, but like ash from a dying fire. Gentle, unhurried. You lie beneath it, eyes closed, wrapped in furs you didn't need to carry because you earned them. Scotty walks on. So does the wolf. Their steps no longer shake the world, but leave soft indentations only you can follow if you ever wish to return. Breathe in. The story is over. Breathe out. But its echoes will wait for you just beyond sleep. You've walked with gods. You've stared into the eyes of something meant to be feared and saw instead the face of truth. Not all monsters are made. Some are written. And sometimes you get to choose how your own chapter ends. So let this be the final sound wind brushing over snow. A heartbeat that's yours. And a silence that doesn't mean emptiness, but rest. Because the Winter Queen has stopped walking tonight. And the wolf lies curled beside her. And you're home.